We're here with Brooke at the Snap House, and today we're going to be learning all about fiber arts. So we're going to go inside and learn how to make clothes and string and yarn from fibers, and we're going to be having a special guest show us more about that, Liza. So get ready, here we go. All right, hi everybody. We're here with our friend Liza at the Snap House. And Liza, tell us what we're going to learn about today.
Well, we're going to be talking about fibers today. It's anything that you can make with yarn or animal hair or cotton, plant fibers, making clothes, felting, knitting, weaving. This is some sheep wool that's been spun into yarn, and it's really kind of greasy feeling because there's lanolin in there. I'm going to clean that up. Here's some thicker yarn and some thinner yarn. There's lots of things you can do with it. These are for carding wool. You put some wool in there and you basically brush them together and you straighten out all the fibers so they're facing the same directions. Here's a drop spindle. We'll have a little demonstration of that later. Here's some flax fiber to make linen.
And what is flax?
So flax is a plant. It grows tall and it's very thin, but it has a strong fiber in it.
Oh, let me see that up close. Let's take that note off of there and we can get a look at that fiber. So what does that feel like? It looks coarse. Does it feel coarse?
It's a lot softer than it looks.
Oh.
It kind of looks like straw, but it definitely doesn't feel like straw.
Yeah, it kind of looks like twine to me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was going to ask you about the kinds of animals that give us fibers that we can use to make clothes. What kind of animals do you have?
The most obvious one that most people think of is sheep, but you can also get fiber from goats, rabbits, alpacas.
And llamas too?
Well, from what I hear, llama's fiber is not as soft, but you can spin it as long as it's long enough.
So the first step is probably getting all of that hair or fur or wool off the animal. Mm-hmm. So shearing the sheep, that will have to come first.
Yep, shearing the animals.
And then what do you do next?
And then you could either clean the fiber first and then spin it, or you can spin it and then clean it. But you can also use it to felt. This fiber right here is really curly. You can see that the sheep had lots of curls on its body. And sometimes it doesn't look like that. This just happens to be what that sheep looked like.
Wow, it's like doll hair.
Yeah.
It's really kind of soft.
Beautiful. I wish my hair looked like that.
That's fun. All right, kids, so now we're going to learn how to use the carding paddles. Carding paddles are really fun. If you have ever had really tangled hair and your mom has had to brush your hair, then you kind of get the idea what this is all about. First, you take your carding paddle, which has a whole bunch of hooks on it. And these are curved hooks. Like if you were looking at Velcro up close. Velcro has little curvy hooks too. So what we do is we take some of this wool. I have cleaned wool that's already been dyed. There's a few little grasses in it, but we'll just ignore that. And you want to get some of it on the top part of the carding paddle like this. You just grab it in kind of a big bundle and rub it on there so it's grabbed some. Next, you're going to take your other carding paddle and you want to pull them opposite directions from each other. So this is going to brush all those clumps out and make them nice and straight. And I have a bunch of different kinds of paddles too. So as we pull, all those clumpy fibers are going to start straightening out, just like when your mom combs your hair or when you comb your own hair. And we can see that it's starting to line up. We want all those fibers to get nice and straight and lined up because then they'll spin properly. That's what we're going to do when we spin them into string or yarn is we're going to be twisting them. But they need to start out straight. That way we can twist them the way we want them to go. Now we have to peel it off of there. I didn't finish this part, but you get the idea. And we peel it off of there and we have a nice straightened piece of wool, sometimes called rovings, ready to be spun. And when you have a machine do your wool rovings, they look like this. So So this is, of course, brightly dyed. Back in the old days, they would have had dyes that were a little bit more natural looking and a little more faded, not quite this bright. But this is a really pretty purple, and this is ready to be felted, or you can go ahead and pull these fibers apart and use them in your drop spindle or in your spinning wheel. So let's watch as Liza teaches us more about that.
Hi, now I'm going to talk to you about my spinning wheel. My husband is very nice and he cares about me, so he gave me a spinning wheel for my birthday several years back. And I have had a lot of fun with it. Right now I'm weaving fiber from one of my alpacas. His name is Patriot, but we call him Patch. And he has a brother named Ricochet, and we call him Rico. But right now I'm working with Patch's fiber, and I accidentally broke it, so now I have to I don't know what it's called when you put it on there, but I have to put it back on.
Yeah, to reattach it. And so what are you using to put it through there?
Okay, so there's this little hook, and I keep it tied to my spinning wheel so it's always there when I need it. And I'm putting it through this hole on the end, and there's a hole right there in this shaft here. And I'm hooking that on and pulling it through.
Oh, so it goes through that kind of a little tunnel through there.
Yep, and then I hook it onto one of these hooks. And look at this. I'm so crazy. I'm a crazy spinner.
It's kind of nutty there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like the nutty professor. The nutty spinner.
It's just for fun and to use up our alpaca wool.
So this does not work with electricity.
Nope, this works with human power.
So you're using your foot to power it.
2 feet.
Oh, wow, look at
Yeah,
that.
some of them have just one pedal, but mine has 2. And you can spin it in either direction, so you have to make sure you're spinning it the right way. And I can attach some more fiber to it now.
And so these are llamas, you said, or alpacas?
Alpacas.
So alpacas have hair, not wool, like a sheep?
Well, they have wool, but they don't have lanolin in their wool like sheep do. So I'm spinning this fiber dirty, and wow, I just found a big chunk of something in there, so I might just save that chunk for later.
Like a piece of mud right in the fur?
I don't know what that is.
Or a
They like
leaf
to roll around in the grass. I think there's some grass seeds and who knows what else.
So it sounds like it might be a good idea to clean your wool first, right? Before you spin it,
I've been told by experts that you clean alpaca fiber after it's spun. And I'm not sure why, but that's what they told me. But yeah, it's actually a lot whiter than this in real life.
Oh, look at that. Wonderful.
It's like
nice
a creamy white color.
Oh, yeah.
But not as brown as this looks right now. So I'm gonna start spinning, and this is not, we talked earlier about carding your wool so that it's called roving, but this is just right off the animal. And so you don't clean it or turn it into roving or anything. You just pull it right out of the bag.
Wow.
And
well, that's convenient.
yeah, it is convenient. And then it'll be easy to clean later when it's just in a big hank. And I'll show you what that looks like later too. But it's the same concept as with the drop spindle. You draft some of it so that there's not a big chunk. And if there is a big chunk, that's okay. It looks nice. It looks pretty that way too. But you try to keep it consistent, keep it all the same thickness. And you're supposed to draft with your left hand, but I keep pulling on it with my right hand. I have to remember to do it the right way. You pull the fibers away from the already spun yarn. And then I just move my finger and thumb back, and then the spin that's in this fiber just moves into the next little bit.
It just kind of automatically keeps going.
Yep. It is so fun. It's really mesmerizing.
It's like you're kind of pinching and pulling and sliding, it looks like.
Yeah, basically.
Mm-hmm. Well, it sure is mesmerizing for Brooke. She's all relaxed over here on the rug in her little apron. What do you think, Brooke? Are you enjoying the spinning? Oh, look at your little ear. Brooke likes to watch. And she's helping over there.
I like to listen to stories when I'm doing this.
Ah.
I listen to audiobooks, but if you're lucky enough, you could have a person read from a book to you, or even just tell you a story from your memory.
So how long do you usually do your spinning? Do you just do it for hours? Or?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Nice.
Yes, this isn't even all of it. This is just a small portion of the wool that we got from Patch. Mm-hmm. He's a big animal.
How often do you get wool from him?
We shear them once a year.
Ah.
Mm-hmm. And we used to have 5 alpacas, but now we just have 2. So not nearly as much fiber as we used to have. So this is called a niddy noddy. It starts with a K, and it's one of my favorite words. It's this is what you wrap your yarn on straight from this bobbin that's on my spindle, and it's really fun. This is really fun too. It's not just the spinning that's fun. Wrapping it around and around, and then from this you get a hank.
Oh.
If I take it off of here.
Oh, I see. It keeps it straight.
Yep, keeps it lined up
Uh-huh.
if you do it right. And
wow.
here's the other end.
It looks like hair.
It does. Rapunzel.
Right, very Rapunzel.
And then, you twist it up and...
And that's how you can sell it or give it away or store it, right?
Yep.
Oh, nice.
And then from that you can, this is just one ply, which means I just spun it on here and then put it on the niddy noddy. Once you spin 2 hanks of yarn, you spin them both in the same direction, and then to spin them together, you spin them in the opposite direction, and then they wrap around each other and become 2-ply yarn.
Oh, I see. And that makes a thicker piece of yarn when you say 2-ply.
Yep.
Oh.
And it's less likely to unspin itself that way.
So with that hank now, are you going to dye it or leave it that color?
Well, this is really dirty still. That's why it's brown. So I have to wash it before I dye it. But I don't think I will, because I love the natural color.
It is really pretty.
Yeah.
Wow. And it looks very even. Like there aren't a lot of bumps and thin places in there. That's pretty good. Pretty
Thanks.
good weaving. Spinning, I should say. Very good spinning.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I think this was the first yarn that I ever spun. This is sheep's wool. That's why it's so white. And
Let's see that up
this is a
close.
lot less even. There are thick ones and thin ones. The really thick one right here.
Can I feel that?
Yeah.
Oh, it's soft. Yeah, there's a little thick bump right there.
Yep, you could tell this was my first attempt.
And so if it's white like that, it must be easier to dye. Like it takes color better?
That is why lots of farmers raise white sheep instead of brown and black sheep, because their white wool takes the dye a lot more easily.
And that's a roving, it looks like.
This is wool roving. Yep, I bought this.
And that is super soft.
Oh, yes.
It looks like cotton.
It does.
Feels like cotton, actually. Wow, but that's wool.
That's wool.
Mm-hmm. All right, so the drop spindle can look a lot of different ways, but usually it's a straight piece of wood with a round piece at the bottom or at the top sometimes. This one happens to have the big round piece at the top. So what it has is a little metal hook on here, and you can see I've already spun some wool on here. Some kids have helped with this. And you just take your piece and you thread it through that little hook at the top so it holds it on. Now the trick is to twist the fiber. When you twist it, all of those little microscopic teeny tiny hooks in the fiber will grab onto each other and become a nice strong piece of thread. So what you do is you spin it with one hand, and this piece right here is waiting to be spun on. So as we spin the drop spindle, I'm going to spin it clockwise. Then what you're going to do is just draft out or pull out a little bit of this at a time, and that will make this twist here. And as it twists, you just pinch it right here at the top where the twist is happening. And then you can feel it as it pulls. You can feel it twisting here, and you want to keep pulling out a little bit more and more of this thread of this wool to make it a little skinnier. You don't want it too fat. Keep it spinning, and then after a while you get a kind of a nice straight piece of yarn, and you take it off the hook, and now you're going to wrap it around your drop spindle like this and start again. Just hook it through the loop. Now you can see it's real short again. Now I'm going to start spinning it, and I don't want a big clump here of wool, so I'm going to kind of pull it or draft it out a little bit more. And it does take some practice. And I'm not real practiced at it. So I'm still learning. But getting the hang of getting this spin going and not letting it go backwards on you. There. Let's see how spinning works. See how it's all twisted up there? All right, now that's a nice long piece of thread again. I'm going to take it off there and wrap it around. And that's how you use your drop spindle.
Hi, so now we're going to talk about a loom. This loom is called a rigid heddle loom, and there are other kinds of looms too, floor looms, and you can have like an 8-shaft loom or a 4-shaft loom, but we're not going to get into all that today. But this is the heddle here, and it's called a rigid heddle because it just has one thing that all of the strings go through, and you control which strings are up and which are down by moving the heddle up and down. And this part right here, this is called a shuttle. This has the yarn on it that I'm going to weave. And the shuttle goes through the shed. That's the space between the upper strings and the lower strings. And I don't want to weave there because that will just undo the last row. So I'm putting it back on top, and I'm going to put it through the shed here. Oh, no, I was wrong. I was wrong. I'm undoing it now.
There you go. Put it down below.
So now I'll weave this properly. Put it through there. Technical difficulties. And then I'm going to beat it, which means I'm lining up the row I just wove with the row before it.
Oh, let's see that. So
I made it closer.
Oh yeah, that's some really pretty colored yarn there too.
Yeah, see when you first pull it through, it's not lined up.
Ah, and then you pull the heddle down to kind of smush it up against the row you just did.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you just keep doing that.
And what happens when your weaving gets all the way up to like here where you're putting it through, or here even? Then what do you do?
Well, then you can move it forward with this part of the loom over here. You can unlock it, and you have to unlock the other side too.
Oh, I see. And there's these kind of roller bars, it looks like.
Right, and then you just roll it forward. You see that moving?
Oh, yeah. So this moves on the bar over a little bit.
Yeah.
So then you get more strings. So there's a lot of strings wrapped up here on this back bar. So you can just keep on weaving, right?
Yep.
Nice.
Let's stop that. Tighten it up again. There we go.
So do you like to weave?
I love to weave. It's so fun.
And what have you made with weaving?
I've made some pictures. I wove different colored strings in different spots to make pictures. That's called tapestry weaving.
Wow.
And I made an enormous embroidery for an art project at school at the U of O. And I wove a 16-foot long piece of embroidery fabric.
Wow.
Ada cloth is what it's called. But I wove it with thick cotton string, so it wasn't teeny tiny strings.
Yeah.
But it took me 2 weeks to weave that, and then I embroidered it.
Wow. That's a lot of work.
It was fun. It was really fun though.
And this looks pretty fun too. So this is kind of a thinner weaving. I know that we've done ones that were wider with more strings on there. So you could do
narrow.
Yeah, that one could be kind of like a scarf or something, but you could do bigger ones and do like placemats or table runners. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, you could weave fabric and then cut it and sew with it. Make your clothes. or whatever, anything that you can make out of fabric.
Will you show us a little bit more weaving on there?
Sure. I think I'm going the right way. There we go.
So when you pull it through one time, the heddle is down below on the little rack, and the next time you put it through, you switch it so it's on the top part of this little wooden rack, right?
Right.
And that switches the strings?
Yes, it's a pretty neat design. Some of the strings go through just a hole, and they are the ones that move. The ones that are in this long space, they stay where they are, and the other strings move.
Oh yeah.
Around them.
So that way half of them are up while the other half are down, and that's how your yarn gets stuck between the strings.
Yep.
Very ingenious.
Yeah.
I wonder how long it's been since weaving was invented.
I don't even know.
Thousands of years,
Very long
maybe.
time. Mm-hmm. Weaving is way older than knitting and crocheting.
Wow.
And I don't know how long people have been making their own fabric to make their own clothes, but I do know that a sewing needle is one of the oldest artifacts that anthropologists have found.
Wow. It's been around a long time.
Mm-hmm.